that word calm and how that links,
Mm.
even to say the whole Bruce Lee piece and exposure that I had to Bruce Lee early on in my life. Um, Bruce Lee, one of the core principles for Bruce Lee was relaxed intensity. And in the last 2 years, I started to revisit because I was reflecting on how I ended up where the hell I am today doing what I'm doing. And I was like, Bruce Lee started to come back into my field in the last couple of years. And I revisited this relaxed intensity piece and I was like, oh, hang on a second, that's what FBR is. Yeah, that's why I view, you know, the potential for a human to live to their fullest potential is if they can develop the capacity for the full spectrum, which is to be able to be relaxed in the face of all of life's intensities. Yeah, because we know with this work that, and I know that you guys know this as well, that life doesn't get easier, but our capacity to handle it expands, which gives us this lived experience of actually this feels easier now, even though
Mm.
life isn't necessarily getting easier. And so, relaxed intensity, I started to use calm momentum because I felt like even if I use the word relaxed intensity in my posts or marketing or whatever else, some people might not be, uh, you know, gung ho
Mm.
to try and experience more intensity. They're trying to don't give me more intensity. We can't shy away from the natural intensities and emergence of intensity in life. Maybe that comes later down in the process. And so calm momentum represents a very similar piece where it's being calm but not doesn't have to mean losing momentum. Yeah. And so
Mm.
this links into your question, Sar, around, working with leaders and founders. I love working with business leaders and founders because their minds are incredibly, and when I say their minds, I consider myself to be an entrepreneur and to be a business person and so on. And I really love business as service, right? But their minds are so incredibly brilliant, right? Their capacity to be able to see opportunity and possibility in context out there is incredible to naturally be drawn to finding a solution. Like, there's a way, we can find a way here.
Mm.
And there's a bit of a, I guess, byproduct as a result of this mind that has the capacity to it can look messy potentially from the outside. Um, but it's also what gives it the capacity to be able to weave its way and find possibility in things. That mind at the same time can find it challenging to be able to rest and be still or to find stillness behind that mind. And so, yeah, I'm in full support of these human beings that um, are showing up to life in their own unique, beautiful, powerful way. And if they can, if they connect with themselves even deeper, because I don't want to presuppose that they're not connected with themselves. To be doing that work, there has to be some level of connection, and there's all sorts of connotations with corporate or business people or whatever. But if I can support them, and if we support them with this work to connect even deeper with themselves, to be even more in alignment with what's actually true for themselves as to how they want to be spending their heartbeats and living in this lifetime, to be able to receive the incredible gift of the life that they've created for themselves as well. Yeah, that I feel deeply for that. And I feel that if they can make aligned decisions with what's true for them, that's only a good thing for the world. And so
Mhm.
yeah, that's
Mhm.
my that's where my movement and drive comes from to support these humans.
Mm, yeah, beautiful. It's kind of like the way I would translate that is like you see quite a big range within them that is available because of their capacity for, I guess, intensity already potentially, right? And that being more maybe on the more quote unquote extreme side of that end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum kind of also has a lot of room to develop, which is exciting. So there's a lot of different kind of work you can do with these people to really bring them into full capacity, to your point, relaxed intensity or calm momentum. Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing, Dan. Yeah, so thank you for sharing, Dan, around how leaders and founders, are meeting intensity on a day-to-day level, and yeah, how do we really work with, or how do you really work with them in such a way that they find more ease and well-being in that, and more relaxedness. Yeah, the curiosity or the question that arises for me within that is, what does intensity look like when it's coming from presence instead of pressure? Like, what are some of the things actually that change in the body, the physiology, and potentially the patterns of mind and emotion? What have you seen in your work with these people that actually shifts for them in a real kind of grounded way?
It's probably what your body has done just then. Yeah, if we just like ultimate messenger, it went from being like leaning in, which is also really useful sometimes, to kind of like from here. Yeah, so there's like less of
Mm.
the head first winds stripping past the ears and just like gung ho. And what starts to happen is like, hang on a second, like the momentum can continue. So any fear that would have a big reason why business leaders and founders might take it might take a while for them to engage in something like meditation, or why they might not go all in on something like meditation. Some are going all in that, right? But the reason is there can be, and it's quite reasonable, a fear around, if I slow down, if any part of me slows down, what happens to my output? Yeah, like what,
Mm.
like, and if I slow down in this part of my life, there's everything that's been created in the external start crashing down. Who's going to take care of that? And am I able to continue engaging in that in the way that it needs to be engaged with if I've slowed down? And it's maybe too risky to even take the risk on that, right? Because there is a lot at stake and a lot of lives that could be affected, not just their own family, but also all the employees and everyone, all the states and everyone. So so it takes a lot of courage actually to start into finding that stillness and that calm, to allow for that momentum. And so, yeah, what starts to come alive is this like, um, and it's not forced, it's this trust in being able to, they've gotten the car to this, to 110 Ks an hour. I don't know how many miles an hour that is. And then taking their foot off the pedal and seeing that we can cruise through this for a bit. Like, it's okay for us to like this speed continue, and maybe there is a cruise control if we want to. We can click that cruise control button, and the view, we're now viewing from. Oh, but hang on a second, I'm actually seeing more. A Taking half a step back in my body, in my being, I'm actually oh wow, this is really useful for me, being able to get even better at finding a solution to my business, or to be able to see the context of what's playing out, and how the team could be operating in a more easeful but highly productive way. Yeah, I'll speak to the most recent client that's jumped on post exit, just came out, but still is working partially in the business, and all that they wanted was peace of mind. Yeah, just peace, like just peace. Like, I just want to be able to focus on one thing. Like, I've created the business, sold the business, blah blah blah. I just want to focus on one thing. And then after, but also that trust that I'm talking about, there was a hesitancy to even engage this work for the initial 90-day baseline stabilization program that I offer up, which is this initial 90 days to stabilize your baseline within your nervous system. And then there was a hesitancy to commit to the full 90 days, to the full 12 weeks. It was like, oh, I'll only do the first 6 weeks. And for me, it didn't matter, yeah, whether you're going to commit to the 6 or the 90. Cool. Let's commit to the 6, and you can make a decision from there. And then after 4 weeks, they were just like, I can genuinely call myself a meditator, even though it's the beginning of the journey and there's a long way to go. I didn't think I'd be able to sit for a 10-minute period and actually be able to do that without kicking myself and or sort of like without like having a whole bunch of frustration boil up and irritability boil up. And they've spoken to a big identity shift that has happened that has provided a
Mm-hmm.
sense of like space in their life because it's expanded them from being so within the roles that they were in to now including these roles, but they've expanded beyond those roles and they're seeing themselves beyond that in a way that is difficult to communicate unless you've experienced it and gone through the process yourself, which is why they did that 6 week and then immediately they were like, okay, happy to, it's been 4 weeks, but let's commit to the rest of this and I'm going to continue beyond that as well.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I really can resonate in my own personal journey, but then also what I've seen with my clients that the initial step into something like a program, whether it's a meditation program, a breathwork program, coaching of any kind of or self-development work can be quite because I think the system kind of knows a big shift is coming. Yeah, and often the shift that we need is not necessarily always what we want as well. So there can be a felt sense of like, oh, something is about to change, but not sure what exactly. And it actually, yeah, like you spoke into that, and it can take a fair bit of courage to take that initial step. And then what I've seen with my clients is once they're in and they actually experience the benefit of doing the practice and having that more spacious leaning back in life, still being able to attend to all the things they need to attend to and actually being able to do more, there's sort of this, I guess, safety that develops within the human being that it's okay to relax back a bit more and to find that spaciousness and actually still be able to attend to all life's demand, so to speak, in a useful and probably more useful is what I've seen, a more useful and more actual deep way.